So, at 11 years old, to continue the story of the twins, and I thought I would mention what I'm relaying here is lore from the secret Edaphic Elven tradition of the soil. It's a specific tradition, specific story with specific vocabulary, and so before you comment or whatnot, I'm relaying information, not necessarily my own personal take on everything. Should be understood with this series. Okay, so the twins, 11 years old, they parent the firstborn of the second generation, which technically it was the first earthborn generation. And the act, we were told, was the result of love, the conception. Lust, as it was explained, was not was not ingrained into the psyche yet by the creators. The genetic material actually blossomed by this, and with the birth of Dannan and Fanta, as they're named, it was clear that the abilities and genetic potential had actually increased as a result of the union of the twins, where the whole was greater than the sum of the parts alone. And for whatever reason, this one time, true evolution actually happened, and it has never happened again. The cup being as full as possible, I guess, with Dannan and Fanta could now only be emptied. And for this reason, there seemed to have been like a stress or pressure in the genetic memory to maintain and preserve the purity and integrity of the Elven genetics and bloodline as time wore on, genetics and race being most often expressed in terms of color of skin, the pigment, the melanin. The complexion type is not truly a genetic indicator by itself, as there are many other cues, eye color, hair color, type, skeletal structure. These all are used anthropologically to distinguish race. The descendants of Dannan and Fanta specifically possessed this kind of true or original material of what we would call the people of Earth, and the Dannanites were closely related, resembling what we would consider the Inuit Indians or the Eskimos today, who are in fact of Elvish descent as well, and have also had a means of preserving their distinct genetics throughout history. The original people of Earth were actually arboreal, meaning that they lived in the forest and used the trees for safety and scouting. The Dannanites inhabited much of Europe and were forced into an existence focused on mainly survival during the end of the last ice age. Following the dispersion of the Dannanites across Europe, further generations and tribes began to emerge seemingly independent of one another. They continued first with the Foxhall clan, also known as the Heidelberg race, who not only maintained some of their original Dannanite genetics, but also had been privileged of the instruction of Onagar, who's known in the ancient histories of the planet as the first wise one. The clan was interested in the development and evolution of a learned culture. And the evolution, that culture had to develop in a time when it was not strictly existing for survival, strictly for getting by. It seems like in history past, the more emphasis is placed on survival, the less is placed on other pursuits. And as soon as we have the ending of the Ice Age, well then the focus can be more or less on adaptation to the natural environment, mastering living of the environment, the arts, cultural arts, spirituality, things like that. People adapt. The modern day Hyperborean, Inuit Indians, and Scandinavians seem to have mastered Arctic living. And with the focus shifting from keeping alive into expansion, more primitive and combative generations, races, and factions emerge. And these were actually not the descendants from the Elven experiment, and they did not survive. For those races that did survive, the genetic melanin separated them by color, and each of the cousin races moved farther and farther away from Mesopotamia, but remains interconnected. And these are not, when they refer to these colors, it can be a little bit ambiguous, because these are not exactly literal in the purest sense, but basically it goes like this. The red folk became the Native American Aboriginal shamans. The orange folk went to Africa for a while, but were later overrun by the green folk. The yellow folk left Mesopotamia for East Asia, and the green folk and the indigo folk remained around North Africa and the Mesopotamian area for quite a while, which left the blue folk, or light folk, who represent the atypical European fair folk, or fairy. Following the dispersion of the races, the fair folk remained in Mesopotamia, emerging as the people known as the descendants of the Anunnaki, or the Scythians, of the Sumerians, who later selectively reproduced with Egyptian pharaohs and the Phoenician dynastic purebloods of the green folk. And all those descended from Andin and Fanta felt this need to maintain some degree of dynastic genetics, or blood of kings, and it is here we find where the kingship comes down from heaven and is passed down through this bloodline, this racial integrity. And the history of men and elves start to support one another at this point, as this concept becomes equated with the Egyptian pharaohs and the monarchies of royal bloodlines.